Disclaimer: this video is only for educational and research purposes.
उठा के फेंक दीजिए टीवी को घर से बाहर। ना मोबाइल में देखिए, ना दीवार पर चिपका के देखिए। इससे आसान डेमोक्रेसी के लिए मैं क्या मांग रहा हूं आप, कि वो टीवी जो भारत के लोकतंत्र को, अर्जित किए गए लोकतंत्र को बर्बाद करने के लिए दिन रात मेहनत कर रहा है, क्या आप उस टीवी को नहीं छोड़ सकते? मुझे चंडीगढ़ की उस लड़की का मैसेज अब भी याद है। वो प्राइम टाइम देख रही थी तो उसके पिता ने टीवी बंद कर दिया। उसने अपने पिता की बात नहीं मानी और प्राइम टाइम देखा। वो भारत के लोकतंत्र की शानदार नागरिक।
Yellow journalism, the use of lurid features and sensationalized news in newspaper publishing to attract readers and increase circulation. The phrase was coined in the 1890s to describe the tactics employed in the furious competition between two New York City newspapers, The World and The Journal. Yellow journalism and the yellow press are American terms for journalism and associated newspapers that present little or no legitimate, well-researched news, instead using eye-catching headlines for increased sales. Techniques may include exaggerations of news events, scandal mongering, or sensationalism. By extension, the term yellow journalism is used today as a pejorative to decry any journalism that treats news in an unprofessional or unethical fashion. I, Avastha, will be discussing about the controversies between Swati Chaturvedi and Rana Ayub. Ridhima will be debunking Ravish Kumar and Shivin will be debunking Barka Dutt. Swati Chaturvedi exposes Rana Ayub's false claims. Leftist state book on Gujarat writes is a joke. So the story is of two friends who have now turned to be foes. The central characters of the story are first an abusive troll masquerading as journalist named Swati Chaturvedi, and second a conspiracy theorist masquerading as another journalist named Rana Ayub. The story begins at a time when both of them, Swati and Rana Ayub, thought quite highly of each other. Both of them used to think on very similar lines. They had a very friendly and positive attitude towards each other until one day when Swati Chaturvedi pointed out that Rana Ayub was factually incorrect somewhere, after which Rana Ayub happened to block her, and since that day Swati Chaturvedi began to attack Rana Ayub over her insensitive tools. In March 2020, Rana Ayub was again attacked by Swati Chaturvedi on her tweet regarding the coronavirus outbreak in the country. At that time, Swati Chaturvedi called Rana Ayub to be a disgusting person. Swati Chaturvedi also said that she feels sorry for all those people who considered her to be a journalist. Now here comes a bit of a disclaimer. As the story progresses and unfolds, we'll get to know a lot of special qualities that Swati Chaturvedi possesses. Swati in the past been keeping too busy conjuring of fiction and passing them off as pieces of investigative journalism. It started when Swati Chaturvedi decided that she is being snooped upon by the Home Ministry. Other day she tweeted to Home Minister Amit Shah asking him to stop NSA Ajit Doval from spying on her, claiming that NSA Ajit Doval sent spies at her place under the guise of some Airtel service providers, and then in her tweets on the other day she invoked one fraud who is a Washington Post plagiarizer. Swati Chaturvedi named and shamed the alleged Washington Post plagiarizer. What came in as a shock to everyone was the fact that she referred to her ex-friend Rana Ayub as PMO India Storage in Washington Post. Yes, you might know by now that this is the same Rana Ayub who hasn't really left any efforts to bring out her dislikes for PM Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah. Swati Chaturvedi referred former cops and Sanjeev Bhatt to talk about how Rana Ayub's alleged journalism was nothing but quite likely politically motivated. That's what even Supreme Court of India said. She then claims that how even Tejpal Tehelka's editor, who is currently in jail on sexual harassment charges, did not print Rana Ayub's fantasies, which she claims was investigative journalism. To reinforce her point that Rana is PMO India's shoes, she casts aspersions that Rana's fantasy Gujarat Files was silent on PM Modi.
Senior Executive Editor Mr. Ravish Kumar has proved himself as an independent journalist in this field of Indian Patrakarita. But he has also invited some controversies regarding his reporting in some cases. So hey there, my name is Ridhima Juneja and I will be today debunking Ravish Kumar. First, let's talk about the Hyderabad rape case. A body of 26-year-old girl was found in Shad Nagar on 28th of November 2019, the day after she was raped and murdered. The police arrested 4 men based on the evidence gathered from the CCTV cameras and from the victim's mobile phone. Not going much deeper into this case, let's see how our respected journalist Mr. Ravish Kumar reported this on national television.
बलात्कार मामलों में रिपोर्टिंग के लिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट के दिशा निर्देश के अनुसार हम पहचान संबंधित कोई जानकारी नहीं दे सकते, लेकिन इस आदेश का अमल भी बेमानी हो चुका है क्योंकि सोशल मीडिया में हैदराबाद की महिला का नाम, तस्वीर और धर्म सब चल रहा है।
Now, as you heard how he said that it is unethical and against the Supreme Court laws to reveal any kind of information about the victim or the rapist, I would like to show you the other face of Mr. Ravish Kumar. A rape case happened of an 8-year-old girl in Rasana village in Jammu and Kashmir. Her name was Asifa, in which she was kidnapped, raped and murdered. Total 8 men were arrested, including 4 policemen. And this is how our respected journalist Mr. Ravish Kumar presented this case on national television.
उसी रोज सांची राम ने अपने भतीजे से कहा कि 8 साल की लड़की को अगवा कर ले, और जो अक्सर जंगलों में घोड़े चराने जाती थी, आसिफा नाम बताया जाता है। जम्मू के कठुआ में बकरवाला मुस्लिमों के समूह को हटाने के लिए ये सब किया।
Now, if we talk about another incident, Mr. Ravish Kumar again proved his double-sided reporting in which he ended up trolling himself. Before elections, he showed Rafael Jet news on daily basis in his weekday show Prime Time. From August 2018 till February 2019, he continuously addressed about Rafael Jet. Here's a look to the video.
नमस्कार, मैं रवीश कुमार। क्या रफाल लड़ाकू विमान की खरीद में घोटाला हुआ है? इस बारे में आज यशवंत सिन्हा, प्रशांत भूषण और अरुण शौरी ने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की है। नमस्कार, मैं रवीश कुमार। फ्रांस की कंपनी डासो एविएशन से खरीदे जाने वाले रफाल लड़ाकू विमान को लेकर फिर से अरुण शौरी, यशवंत सिन्हा और प्रशांत भूषण ने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की है। नमस्कार, मैं रवीश कुमार। फ्रांस के पूर्व राष्ट्रपति फ्रांसवा ओलंद ने एक ऐसा बयान दिया है जिससे रफाल मामले में तूफान मच सकता है। रफाल विमान को लेकर फ्रांस से फिर एक खबर आई है, जिस मीडिया पार्ट वेबसाइट ने 21 सितंबर को पूर्व राष्ट्रपति फ्रांसवा ओलांद का एक बयान छापा था। हमने प्राइम टाइम के शुरू में बताया भी था कि अजय शुक्ला बिजनेस स्टैंडर्ड में इन्होंने हाल ही में 3 किश्तों में रफाल विमान के कीमतों को लेकर और उसकी शर्तों को लेकर एक विस्तृत रिपोर्ट लिखी है। नमस्कार, मैं रवीश कुमार। रफाल पर सुप्रीम कोर्ट का फैसला आ गया है। इस फैसले को बीजेपी अलग तरीके से पढ़ रही है और कांग्रेस अपने तरीके से बता रही है। रफाल विमान को खरीदने के लिए रक्षा मंत्रालय में एक टीम बनाई गई थी। नमस्कार, मैं रवीश कुमार। रफाल मामले की कहानी 360 डिग्री घूमकर फिर से वहीं पहुंच गई है। नमस्कार, मैं रवीश कुमार। आज गजब हो गया। रफाल पर सीएजी की रिपोर्ट तो आई, मगर सार्वजनिक होकर भी गोपनीय नजर आई।
And after the elections, look what Ravish Kumar, being a senior executive editor of NDTV India, said.
सब चाहते हैं कि उनकी आवाज उठे, लेकिन उनसे कह दीजिए चाहने वालों से कि दूसरे की आवाज उठाइए। आवाज नहीं आती। इसलिए निसंदेह रफाल का आना बड़ी घटना है, मगर आने का कवरेज इस तरह से ना हो कि सुबह से टीवी पर वो आता ही रहे।
एक दिन पहले से आता रहे, पैनलों में लोग वही वही बातें कहते रहें और जिन जगहों पर आम जनता की खबरें होनी चाहिए उन जगहों पर इन बातों से उन जगहों को भर दिया जाए।
From both the clips, you can clearly examine the level of hypocrisy he showed. Now, I am a budding journalist and I would also like to show you the views of a general person from an engineering background who has nothing to do with journalism. So, as you have here seen the real face of Mr. Ravish Kumar, the senior editor of NDTV, I want to know what are your views on his double whammy reporting on the Hyderabad rape case and the Rasana village case.
If I have to describe him in simple words, then it can be said that he is a double-faced person, as this word will be the most suitable phrase for him. The way he changed and conflicted his own speech can be clearly seen in both of the cases.
And what do you think about his reporting on the Rafale jet news?
He himself is not sure whether showing Rafale news is beneficial or not. On the one hand, he's saying that common men's news need to be showed up, but on the other hand, he himself is showing the same news for the straight 6 months. So he is not sure even what to say and what not. I really don't know why people think that Modi has bought and controlling the journalists in Indian media and Ravish Kumar is the only honest journalist. People really need to open up their eyes.
Okay, so thank you so much Mokshita Rallan for joining us and sharing your views.
Barkha Dutt has undoubtedly emerged as a prominent figure in the field of journalism, but she has also invited many controversies in her life. Hi, my name is Shivan Pandita, and today I'll be discussing some of those controversies and will try to debunk Barkha Dutt. First of all, tell me, how many female journalists do you know who have covered a war story directly from the war zone? The answer depends what war means for you. We all know the 1999 Kargil War, the war fought between India and Pakistan that lasted for over 2 months, in which Pakistan invaded in India from 4 different sectors of Ladakh that were Mashko, Dras, Kaksar and Batalik. During that time, both Barkha and her reporting were in limelight, and the main reason was her reporting style. No doubt, Barkha put her life in danger and went to the war zone for live reporting. And yeah, I agree with the fact that this was a historic moment in the field of journalism, as no woman had ever went to a war zone for live reporting. Okay, so enough of praising. Although Barkha put her life in danger and went to the war zone, then why was she termed as a national security threat? Barkha was so lean in her reporting that she disclosed every single movement of our Indian army, like what types of ammunitions are we carrying, what weapons are we going to use, how many posts have we captured, how many posts are we going to capture, at what time are we going to attack.
Uniform 143, offshore listening over.
What you heard right behind you were the sound of Bofors guns directly targeting the top of Tiger Hills, the prelude to the final assault. Also going on simultaneously are multi-barrel rocket launchers also attacking the same positions on Tiger Hills.
Because of her, the Pakistani troops destroyed many of our posts in the Dras sector, said Jitendra Tiwari in his Facebook post.
Hello, listen Shivnath, I'm calling from a bunker. I can't speak. Quickly take down the details. We launched multi-barrel rocket launcher attack in addition to the direct firing by Bofors guns.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Hello?
But Barkha didn't stop here. After 5 months of her laxity reporting in the Kargil war, Barkha went to cover the Kandahar hijack incident. Covering any incident is never wrong, but what went wrong here is, while the terrorists were being taken to the New Delhi airbase after the negotiations with the hijackers, Barkha with his cameraman went directly into the restricted security zone of the New Delhi airbase, with or without knowing the seriousness of the incident, just to get some live and exclusive footages for her news agency. Barkha was stopped there by Air Marshal S.Y. Sevor, who now has retired, recently said on Twitter that when he stopped Dutt from entering into the airbase, to which Barkha Dutt replied that if you didn't let me and my crew in, I'll get you fired. And the conversation that happened between Barkha Dutt and S.Y. Saver on Twitter are here. There are countless such incidents from Barkha Dutt's side. She had reported many times without knowing the back-end story of any news or any incident. And Barkha Dutt is the only journalist in India who's praised by terrorist Hafiz Saeed.
मैं देख रहा हूँ कि वहाँ बहुत बरखा दत्त जैसे लोग भी मौजूद हैं, बहुत अच्छे बात करने वाले भी मौजूद।
We had been told by the authorities that we need to take an interview on whatever topic we are covering, but I would like to share my interaction with Barkha Dutt.
Today, hapless victims, they were once the privileged elite of the valley. They may have been a minority, but at that time they had monopolized government jobs, plum postings and other such social benefits. In fact, the sharp economic disparity between the Pandits and the poor Muslim majority was one of the earliest reasons for popular discontent in the state.
So, according to Barkha Dutt, the genocides of Kashmiri Hindus was the conflict between the rich and the poor. So, in that case, the slogans which were raised must be somewhat related to the discrimination between the rich and the poor. Here are the slogans.
इस देश में रहना होगा, अल्लाह अकबर कहना होगा. This was the first slogan. Number 2, यहाँ क्या चलेगा, निज़ाम मुस्तफा. Islamic pattern of that government. This was another slogan. Third slogan was कश्मीरी पंडितों भाग जाओ.
एक स्थानीय समाचार पत्र अल सफा में पूरे पन्ने पर एक विज्ञापन था कि कश्मीरी पंडितों 2 दिन के अंदर कश्मीर छोड़ो, नहीं तो हम आपको मार देंगे.
जब हम अपना सामान लेकर आने लगे तो वो बोलते इधर की कमाई इधर ही रहेगी, तुम खाली आ जाओ. हम खाली 3 कपड़ों में आए वापस.
According to these slogans, Madam Barkha Dutt's report clearly stated that the conflict was between the rich Pandits and the poor Muslims of the valley. Her primetime show was once again made viral in the month of June 2020 by some of my activist friends, and they demanded an apologization from Dutt for mocking the sentiments of thousands of Kashmiri Hindus who lost their lives, their ancestors, their family members and what not in the 90s.
हिंदू को वो अपने जान से दुश्मन समझते हैं. ये तो एक प्रोपेगेंडा है कि हम आपको कुछ नहीं करेंगे, वो है. लेकिन दरअसल जो है इन द लॉन्ग रन जो है वो या तो उनको कन्वर्शन करेंगे या तो उनको मार डालेंगे.
तुम्हें लगता है कि वापस जाओगी तुम कभी वहाँ पे?
हाँ.
मन करता है वापस जाने का? क्या कहते हैं मम्मी पापा, क्या कहते हैं कि वापस जा पाओगी वहाँ पे?
नहीं.
क्या कहते हैं कभी नहीं जाएंगे वहाँ? तो फिर क्या कहते हैं कहाँ रहेंगे?
यही.
तो यहाँ क्या करेंगे?
पता नहीं.
All those who demanded an apology from Barkha Dutt were blocked by her as a reply. On seeing this, that what Barkha is doing on Twitter, I quietly opened my Instagram and commented on the recent post of Barkha that, ma'am, you owe an apology to my community for mocking the sentiments of many Hindus, to which Barkha unexpectedly replied that no, I do not. I do not engage with fake news and slanders. And here is a screenshot of the conversation happened between me and Barkha Dutt. I asked another question to Barkha, but instead of replying to my question, Barkha blocked me. No doubt I was triggered at that time because she firstly mocked my community and then she refused to answer my question. So ma'am, if you are watching this, please check your block list and unblock me and kindly answer my question. So that was my interaction with Barkha Dutt. And at that particular time, my love for Ma'am Barkha became eternal.